I'm going to show you 5 steps to leave the controller's timeline so you can stay on an ascension path. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. Right now, we are living in the fog of a planetary war. This is fundamentally a war between AI and humanity, and the controllers are the ones who are running the negative side of this war. So the best way to keep our focus on an ascension timeline is to follow a simple path of 5 steps that will take all the mystery and confusion out of ascension. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video. Now, we already know that there's a higher timeline of natural ascension and a lower timeline of suppression and total AI control. What we want to do is to make sure that we feel in control of our own ascension process so we can stay on that higher timeline. Now, this is important so that we don't get so caught up in world events that we forget that we are here to evolve and ascend to a higher level of human evolution. So let's begin with step number 1. Step 1 is to set the stage for your ascension by increasing your awareness of what ascension means for you personally. So take a step back from everything for just a moment and focus on the fact that you want to stay on a higher timeline. A higher timeline is natural because ascension is the ongoing process of evolution in nature. The only thing that really changes is its rate of speed. Sometimes evolution proceeds more slowly, and other times, like now, we have a massive acceleration of this process, which we call ascension. Everything in the universe is always moving towards a higher state of consciousness and evolution. The only thing that can change this is when something enters the picture on any given planet that seeks to impede or stop that natural process. And that's what's currently happening here on Earth. We have the controllers who are extraterrestrial, interdimensional, and human. They are trying to remove human beings from their natural path of evolution and ascension by suppressing their light and taking control of their souls. Now, these controllers have already removed themselves from an evolutionary path, and thus they have no creative energy of their own. So now they are parasitic and they must capture other life forms and steal their energy in order to be able to function at all. So the way to set the stage for your ascension is through an act of intention. It's really as simple as setting a daily intention to move towards a higher timeline. Now, Adam, who is one of the beings in Telstar who I channel, recently told me that ascension happens from within. I felt instantly empowered by this when he told me this. The reason this realization is so great is because it puts you in charge of your own ascension process. And this makes sense because we have free will and we are the ones who ultimately decide if we want to evolve or not. Now, there are 2 main aspects to our experience of life. One relates to the things that we can control, and the other relates to events that we can't control. So we want to focus on the things that we can control, and that would relate to our inner experience and our outer personal circumstances. The way you set the stage for your own ascension is to make a decision that you will bring these 2 areas of life that you can control up to a higher timeline. So every day you set sail in your own life toward that higher timeline of natural evolution. Now let's talk about step number 2. Step number 2 is to gain clarity about the basic energetics of how ascension works on a personal level. The best way to do this is to look at it from the perspective of energy and vibration. Look at your entire experience on the inside and on the outside as energy. When it comes to energy, ascension is really about simple physics. Take a look at this simple illustration. Imagine that you have a simple container of water. There are heavier, dense particles of matter in the water, and there are lighter, less dense particles. The lighter particles will rise to the top, while the heavier particles will stay on the bottom. So you could say that the heavier dense particles represent lower dense energy, and the lighter particles represent a higher vibration of energy that naturally rises to the top. So here's how this works when it comes to your inner and outer experiences of your personal circumstances. Negative energy is heavy and it makes you feel heavy. It literally weighs you down. Positive energy is lighter energy and it lifts you up with inspiration, creativity, and hope. Now, the energy of happiness moves easily from within our experience and radiates outward in a natural expression. It's not something that we tend to hold on to because it's so light, and light naturally radiates. So happiness is a state of being light and free. It's a state of naturally letting go. When a person is happy, they are also in peace, because happiness is natural. It's harmonious. It's healing. Sadness, on the other hand, is heavy. When you are sad or angry or in fear, it's difficult to feel any movement in your life because the energy of these emotions weigh you down. They are heavy, just like the dense particles in the container of water. They don't move upwards on their own. Now, generally, your experience will consist of a combination of high vibrational, lighter energies and low vibrational, heavier energies. So the way to take control of your own ascension is to transmute the energy of those lower vibrational experiences so they become light again. And as your energy takes on more light, it will naturally begin to ascend, just like the lighter particles in the glass of water. And because you are fundamentally an energy being, you will also feel like you are ascending to a higher, more vibrant state of evolution, which means you are consciously shifting your life to a higher timeline. Now, step number 3 is to assess your outer world. Next, you want to make a renewed assessment of your overall experience of your personal circumstances. Now, you want to do this from the perspective of shifting your life to a higher timeline. What circumstances feel heavy in your life, and which ones feel lighter? Now, a great way to do this little assessment is to journal about it and write it down. You can start by looking at the main areas of your life, such as job, career, or relationships. Which relationships feel heavy? And which ones feel light? If a relationship feels heavy, then you can brainstorm some solutions to elevate that experience to a higher vibration. Maybe it means you need to either limit your time together or even end the relationship. Or maybe it means you need to be more accepting of that person as they are. Or perhaps there's a way that you can shift your perspective so that you have a different chemistry together. Another area to look at is your home. Does the energy feel heavy, or does it feel supportive and light? Are there physical changes you can make to elevate the energetic vibration in your home? Is there a lot of clutter that is weighing the energy down? If you clear out that clutter, you might find that your whole vibration changes and your energy starts to move much more easily. The other thing you might want to do is to just rearrange some things or do some kind of deep cleaning. Or in some cases, it might just be time to move to a new location. Now, these ideas are very obvious things that you might already know, but it is a completely different experience when you approach it from the perspective of shifting those circumstances to a higher timeline. You will find yourself feeling more motivated, more centered, more focused, and clear. It won't feel so random anymore. Everything you do in this regard will take on the meaning of a higher purpose. Now, step number 4 is to assess your inner world. This has to do with the energetic state of your mind and your emotions. It also includes your physical body because your body will reflect much of what you hold in your mind and your emotions. Your body is the vehicle through which your thoughts and emotions are expressed. Take a look at your beliefs about yourself and about your life in general. Do you have faith in yourself? Do you love and appreciate yourself and who you authentically are? These are high vibrational beliefs that allow your energy to flow at a faster rate of speed. Do you believe you deserve happiness? If so, that will motivate you to create it. Are you generally grateful and appreciative of the good in your life? All of these experiences are like the lighter, less dense particles in my example of the glass of water. These are the feelings, beliefs, and emotions that will lift your energy to a higher vibration. Now, on the other hand, if you believe you are a failure or you don't love yourself, then you will notice that those are very heavy, very dense beliefs and emotions. There is very little movement when one holds on to such beliefs. Forward movement in life is much slower and much more difficult. Holding on to past regrets is another thing to be mindful of. Doing so is like dragging a ball and chain that holds you back from moving forwards and upwards. Guilt is another emotion that is very dense and very heavy. Now, we all have very good reasons for our good feelings and our bad feelings. But when you are focused on moving your consciousness and your energy to a higher timeline, those reasons actually begin to lose a lot of their importance. The problem with good reasons and justifications is that they serve to keep you where you are. They are not necessarily conducive to moving forward and can actually only make it a lot more difficult. If you say to yourself something like, well, I'm depressed because of the trauma I lived through, and that may very well be true, but you might have to let go of any attachment to the reason why in order to be able to transmute that dense, heavy energy into something lighter. And that will be so much easier if you are focused on your goal of moving your consciousness to a higher timeline. Doing this type of inner work is also very effective when you journal about it and get your thoughts out of your head and on paper where you can more easily observe them. So steps 3 and 4 are really about your own personal awakening to your current state of consciousness in the context of shifting your life to a higher timeline of evolution. Now let's talk about step number 5. Step number 5 is transmutation. Now that you have greater clarity about your current state of consciousness and energy, you can compare that to my simple example of the glass of water that holds particles of different densities. Some of your experiences, circumstances, beliefs, and emotions will feel lighter and freer. They will not feel like a problem in your life. These are the areas where your vibration is higher, it's lighter, and it's less dense. Other experiences and circumstances will feel heavier and they'll feel like they're weighing you down. These are the areas where your vibration will be lower, it will feel heavier, and it will be more dense. And you may also notice that many of the heavier experiences are actually manifesting as repetitive patterns. Because they are heavy and dense, they are much more difficult to move out of your consciousness. So they tend to manifest in the form of repetitive thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that just don't seem to clear. These heavy, dense patterns of energy are what keep you stuck in life because they just don't want to move. So once you have identified these heavier, dense patterns, you can then set forth on a path to transmute that density that has been manifesting in your life in all of these various ways. Now, transmutation is not about getting rid of some part of yourself. Instead, it refers to changing the nature of that energy into something that is closer to light. This means that you are actively changing that energy back into a vibration that is more in harmony with your natural self. We humans have an amazing power in our consciousness to evolve and to create. And because we are beings of light, we inherently have the power to transmute via our intention alone. So how do we do this? Archangel Michael once told me that the most effective way to transmute negative limiting patterns is to move forward in the direction of what you really want. Then your light, your beautiful human essence, becomes the motivating force of energy, and light naturally transmutes darkness. So, for example, if there's a direction in your life that you sincerely from your heart, from a place of love, you really want to go in that direction. As you take that first step, or maybe you just even think about taking that step, if there is a negative limiting pattern in the way of that step, that pattern is going to show up in your consciousness right away. That energy is going to make itself known to you immediately. So when you're coming from a place of your heart, from your light, from your deepest essence, and you start moving forward in that direction anyway, the light of who you are will begin to transmute the energy of that limiting pattern or belief. Now, when you do this, you are changing your priorities from merely coping with these limiting patterns and beliefs. Your new priority is to move forward in your life and to shift your life to that higher timeline. So when we put all of this in the context of ascension and of moving to a higher timeline, it empowers our focus like a laser. The simplicity of knowing exactly what it is you're trying to do allows you to stay on track in a much more consistent way. So what you want to focus on each and every day is this. Today, I'm going to move my life and my experience to a higher timeline in whatever way presents itself to me. If you notice yourself indulging in negative emotions or thoughts, realize that you are dropping your consciousness in the direction of a lower timeline because your vibration is becoming heavier and more dense. So this is something that I encourage you to just play around with. Just experiment and watch how much more quickly you can make positive changes in your life with this kind of focus. Think of ascension as something that you yourself are meant to generate as a creator. It's not something that happens to you. It's a co-creative act between you and the universe, which is also evolving at a much larger scale. Ascension is a rapid acceleration of natural evolution. There is a great deal of light supporting this right now. All we have to do is to change the way we look at things so we can take full advantage of this amazing cosmic energy. Now, before I close, I want to remind you of something. The controllers do not want us doing any of this. This is why they keep us in a state of chaos and fear and distraction with all of their insanity that's going on all around the world. So realize that a lot of this craziness that they're creating is specifically for the purpose of getting us so consumed by all of that craziness that we do not remember that we are here to evolve, we are here to ascend. It's who we are creators, and we do have free will. So remember, don't let them pull you off that track of moving your life to a higher timeline and drag you down to their lower timeline using all of their tactics of fear and violence and mind control and all of that stuff. Now, I will put chapter titles in the description below for each one of these 5 steps in case you want to revisit any one of them and just review what that particular step is all about. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would appreciate taking the mystery out of ascension. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.